Okay, so somebody challenged me to chronicle my journey into making a huge impact on the dyslexic world. So here's my first post. The reason why I've started this channel is one, because somebody challenged me, and two, because my daughter was diagnosed with dyslexia about 2 years ago. And 2 years prior to that, my wife and I knew that there was something that was going on because she was having trouble reading and it was affecting her school, but we didn't know what it was. So we searched around, we talked to different people, we tried to find different things. We sent her to this place in Minnesota called Learning RX, which helped some, but didn't really help much. And although I thought it's probably a great program for some, but just not maybe for dyslexic kids. And we just searched and searched, and her teacher was even saying, like, we need to make sure to fight for her, to advocate, but she was even kind of hesitant to tell us. She's like, I shouldn't be telling you this, but you should probably get an IEP. So we got an IEP, and they were trying to help her also, but just none of this stuff was really working. And we didn't really know what it was up until that point. And luckily, we were blessed enough to have somebody in our neighborhood who their child had similar troubles of reading, and he got diagnosed with dyslexia. And so we brought our daughter to the to their doctor, and was able to get our daughter diagnosed with dyslexia also, which then started the process of, okay, now we have this diagnosis, how can we help her? And we moved to Florida a couple of years ago. I'm very blessed again that there's an amazing school called Educational Pathway here in Estero, Florida, which is just by Fort Myers. And they only deal with dyslexic kids. So what an amazing blessing, and they've been so great. Her confidence has went up a ton. Her reading level has stayed with her grade, or not with her grade, but stayed at where she's progressing every year, one grade. So she's not falling behind anymore, but she is actually continuing to learn. So that's kind of where we're at today. My thoughts are on dyslexia at this point, is I really want to and need to immerse myself in the dyslexic world. So I'm going to be doing this on this journey of just trying to listen to podcasts, read books, and try and learn everything that I can about dyslexia. And if you don't know about dyslexia, 1 in 5 kids has dyslexia, but only 20% are diagnosed. So huge problem in the US and actually all over the country. It's not just the US. And so my goal is to make a huge impact on getting that 20% to 80 or 90% if possible. And the way that I see it so far is 3 strategies. One is trying to educate parents and teachers of what dyslexia looks like, because as we didn't know what dyslexia is, I'm sure a lot of other parents do not know that either. And especially if you're working 2 or 3 jobs, or just struggling to barely make a living, you don't always have time to search these things out. So my idea is to bring awareness by doing social media posts, really targeted posts towards those pre-K and kindergarten parents, that will be able to educate them on what it looks like so they can get the help that they need. Number 2 is what I believe is finding an affordable way to get your kid diagnosed. Ours was about $2,400, which is obviously a lot of money, and a lot of people cannot afford that. And so the idea is to figure out what grants are out there, what programs are out there for maybe parents that can afford the full amount, or even half of it, or maybe none of it. So it's finding those resources and then getting them in the hands of these people that we're educating. And then the last part is to provide education, the proper education for these kids, so that they can be able to read and feel confident in themselves. I think that's the biggest thing in this journey that I've been on, is realizing as I'm going through this with my daughter and seeing the different things, is that I realized that I probably had dyslexia growing up. Although I don't have the diagnosis, everything kind of lines up. I had trouble reading. I had problems with spelling and grammar and still do. Luckily, there's great programs out like Grammarly that I use for my emails and stuff and to help me with my grammar. But just really want to focus on just helping these people, because I know that for me personally, growing up with dyslexia and feeling like I wasn't like everybody else, and honestly like I was kind of stupid, and that really hurt my self-confidence growing up. Luckily for me, it drove me to prove people wrong, that just because I couldn't read or couldn't read as well as other people, I should say, that I could prove them wrong, that I could be a success. So it took me down that pathway. But unfortunately, it also can take you down a different pathway where 46% of inmates have dyslexia. And that is a huge problem. So I see it as like this fork in the road of where the kids get to this point of where they realize that they don't read like other kids, and they can either use it as a power to propel them, or they just give up and go down a path of destruction. And so I believe if we can help these kids, there might be other influences that might drag them down that other pathway, but if we could just help them with this one thing, it could maybe help them go down the other pathway of not thinking that they can't do things. And I believe that dyslexia is a superpower. From what our doctor said when she diagnosed our daughter, was that most dyslexic kids, they have a really high IQ. And so that just shows you that, there could be possibly this superpower that they have that they can use for good. But if they don't believe they have a superpower, then they can't do it. So I see that as a big, huge problem with this. And there's plenty of examples of people that are very successful, like Richard Branson, or 3 of the sharks from Shark Tank have dyslexia. I believe Tommy Hilfiger has it. So there's just a lot of examples. Over 50% of people that work at NASA have dyslexia. So it truly is a superpower, and we just need to get this in the right hands and show the kids that it is a superpower, not a disadvantage. It is not a learning disadvantage, it's a learning advantage. So that is my mission. This is my first post. I will keep you involved on what I'm learning, what I'm going through, ups, downs, all this good stuff. Just going to chronicle it. Hopefully you like it, and we'll just see you at the next episode.